What if I told you that out there in the world right now, there was a savior? Someone with the power to bring rock and roll back into the mainstream. What if I told you it was her? Rock and roll needing saving is nothing new. In fact, there's a long tradition of artists revitalizing the genre and injecting it with new life. This used to happen every couple of years. Artists would fill vacancies left from tragedies, or when scenes would become lame and over-commercialized, there would be another band waiting in the wings. Everyone was doing their part. It was a nice checks and balances system. When the mainstream got stale, the underground would come calling, and the stars of the underground would be thrust into the spotlight. However, with the advent of streaming and listener habits becoming more and more personalized and segmented, the underground has stayed in the underground. Of course, there are other contributing factors like the rise of Clear Channel, TikTok, the growing popularity of other genres like hip-hop, electronic music, and hyperpop. And it's all left us rock fans having to pretend that Imagine Dragons are a rock band.
From the brain, seeing the beauty through the...
It doesn't
Is that you, God?
No, it's Joe from Taste Like Music.
Oh yeah, now that you mention it. The last time that a band that resembles traditional classic rock topped the Billboard Hot 100 was Nickelback all the way back in 2001 with How You Remind Me. Now there's been a bunch of other things that you could maybe construe as rock that has performed well on the charts. There have been singer-songwriters to top the charts, a little bit of indie pop, and of course Adele. Some of these songs I even like a fair amount, but I wouldn't really feel great about having them be the representative for all of rock and roll for an entire 2+ decades. But you might be saying, you're looking at the pop charts, of course there won't be a lot of rock there. Well, I thought of that, so I thought we'd also check out the top rock songs of each year going back in time. Last year, the top rock song was Heat Waves by Glass Animals.
Usually I put something on TV, so we
And this is definitely not rock. In 2021, it was Mood by 24K Golden. This is even less rock. It sounds like one of those bad trap country songs. In 2020, it was also Mood. Jesus Christ, I've never heard this song once before, and it was the top rock song for 2 years running. In 2019, it was High Hopes by Panic at the Disco, who, at certain points, I would call a rock band, but this song is definitely not. In 2018, it was Thunder by Imagine Dragons, which is not only not a rock song, it is also one of the worst songs of all time.
Kids were laughing in my classes while I was scheming for the masses.
In 2017, it was Imagine Dragons again with Believer. In 2016, it was Stressed Out by 21 Pilots. This is definitely not rock. 2015, Shut Up and Dance by Walk the Moon. Now this one, it's more pop, but there's definitely rock elements. I would probably say that this qualifies as rock, maybe. So you have to go back all the way to 2015, that's 8 years ago, to get the last time a rock song was the top rock song of the year. And even then, it's kind of a stretch. So for Olivia to put 14 songs in the Hot 100, 6 in the top 10, and top the charts 3 times is an amazing feat. She's also topped the rock and alternative chart twice already, with Brutal and her newest track, Bad Idea Right. And this is an artist that's only been around for 3 years. Olivia quickly rose through the ranks of the Disney teen machine after debuting on the show Bizaardvark as Paige Olvera, a quirky teen who makes videos on the internet. Here she was positioned as the rebel, an outcast who uses irony and comedy to stand out. She also sings and raps.
Yeah, a few days later, I'm craving for some juice, so many delicious flavors. shoes. The cashier rolls her eyes and says, could you take any longer?
But she wasn't content to just be a child actor.
You know what, something I think is really interesting too is that you used to be a child actor.
Yes.
And so was I, which I think is so funny and such a cool parallel.
Yeah, it's the hyphenation, right? And acting, dancing,
Yeah.
singing, writing, painting, designing.
Yeah.
It's, and for me in the 90s especially, it was very much, stay in your lane. What are you? As though you had to be reduced and one-dimensionalized to one thing. What's exciting about now is that you can be everything.
Sure.
You can be a comedian, you can be rock and roll, you can be sweatpant bedraggled. You can be all these parts, and there's just less of this mandate of like pick a lane and stay there.
Totally. I love that so much. I'm really glad that I get to work in that era of the industry.
After 3 seasons, she graduated to a higher profile series, High School Musical, the series. And yes, that is the real name. There she spent 3 seasons as Nina Salazar Roberts, a musical theater enthusiast. By the 3rd season, which debuted in 2021, she was incredibly famous thanks to the overwhelming success of her solo debut, Sour, and her role was reduced to a recurring one. Her character had left for California to pursue a career in music. Rodrigo was praised for her performance with Joel Keller from Decider, describing her as especially magnetic. Thanks to her popularity on the show, in 2020 she negotiated a record deal with Atlantic. The next year, she released the single Driver's License, which she co-wrote with producer Dan Nigro. The story of a real-life triangle that developed on High School Musical. It broke multiple Spotify records for streaming and debuted at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Her 3rd single, Deja Vu, also debuted at #1. Sour followed soon after and immediately established Olivia as the voice of her generation. And perhaps more importantly, the savior of rock. Olivia Rodrigo has already put rock back in the mainstream, revitalizing and refreshing a genre that was once the domain of puerile man-boys. We're certainly not the first ones to notice this. Many articles have been written about her and her connection to the pop-punk revival, and how she's a canvas for millennial nostalgia. However, Olivia is not completely unique in this way. The 90s and early aughts are suddenly being viewed through rose-colored glasses by younger generations, and the music of those time periods is being mined for inspiration by plenty of artists and bands in the indie sphere. It seems that there's another female-fronted rock band channeling Liz Phair coming out every week. So why not one of those bands? Why is it that Olivia seems to be the chosen one? Well, the answer to that should be fairly obvious. She's starting from the inside. She's a Disney kid. She has a built-in fan base and a major label deal. This may seem odd to 90s kids and antithetical to rock and roll, but the days of crying sellout are long over. Ever since the Black Keys sold their songs to 10 million different brands, corporate involvement doesn't seem to bother people much anymore. But besides all that, there's another thing that Olivia has that makes her stand out from the pack, and that's emotional honesty and relatability. She's relatably her age. She sings about being 17 or 20 in a way that doesn't make older listeners cringe, but rather reminds them of themselves at that age. Okay, well maybe they cringe a little. I still sense that there are some naysayers in the room. Perhaps some rock classicists among us that aren't buying Olivia as a rock act. Just another teeny bopper pop act, they're saying. Well yes, she is pop. But rock and pop have long been intertwined. Rock began as the pop music of its time. Basically every British invasion act was essentially a pop band. One of the most legendary concerts ever was the Monterey Pop Festival. Rock is pop, and pop is rock. As someone who talks about music on the internet all the time, people are always asking for my credentials, as if you need some kind of a degree to have an opinion. So if you're looking for credentials on Olivia Rodrigo, she seems to have great taste.
This is one of the first records I actually ever bought. Me and my mom bought it from the thrift store. It's a little thrift store tag.
What album have you listened to the most in your entire life?
Probably this one. Elephant by the White Stripes.
Oh, that's cool.
People that know better than I do seem to respect her and think that her music is quite sophisticated.
Let's talk about the production for a second. Okay. Because I think that is like really different than modern production. A lot of folks these days, super compressed vocals, Lots of effects, pitch shifting on vocals, the high and the low.
Yeah.
You get the super crunched EDM style vocals sit way on top of everything. Kick drum is mixed really loud. Mix is kind of ducking under the kick drum. None of that stuff was in this mix.
Yeah, there's actually mid-range, which you never hear in pop music anymore.
Like I said, Olivia is clearly building off the pop-punk sound of the early aughts, but she's doing it in a way that Blink-182 and Sum 41 and Paramore and their likes never could, and that's take it all the way to number one, to break through any and all barriers, shut down the naysayers, and do it her way. She's not only won over the fans, but she seems to won over the favor of the music industry itself. Sour was nominated for 7 Grammys, including Album of the Year, winning 3, Best Pop Solo Performance for Driver's License, Best Pop Vocal Album for Sour, and Best New Artist, the first artist versed in rock to win since Fun in 2013. She also won an American Music Award, 7 Billboard Music Awards, 3 VMAs, Times Entertainer of the Year in 2021, and Billboard's Woman of the Year in 2022. With the upcoming release of Guts, Olivia Rodrigo is ready to remind the powerful people in the music industry that rock music can still sell millions of copies, and that guitar-centric music is actually palatable to Gen Z and Gen Alpha music fans. I'm not saying you have to love Olivia Rodrigo or that Guts should be your album of the year. If it doesn't seem like it's for you, that's fine. But if you're a fan of rock music and would like to see it enjoy the success it once had, you should absolutely be rooting for this album.
It takes a certain kind of person to get the body working to the level of precision that's needed to be risen to the top. Do you have it? It takes a certain kind of something to keep the heart pumping, something everybody needs to achieve to succeed. You'll need a lot. Do you have it? Do you have it?